Good morning and welcome to edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is May 18, 2023. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bender. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm all right.
He's all right. All right. So let's walk through a couple of little earnings. Walmart came out. It was a pretty solid quarter up and down. They guided down for Q2 on EPS, it looks like, but guided up for full year 2024. Interesting little mix within through there. Looked like Baba also put up good numbers, but the price action isn't necessarily there following that ER. As we come into the morning and open here, we're kind of ticking down a little bit. We had jobless claims come out and they wildly beat expectations, I would say that. And we also had some positive data come out as far as manufacturing, positive in that not as shitty as it was, right? So if it's not as bad as it was, that could give the dollar a bump. And if you're looking at the dollar, as we're coming into open here, the dollar is making a nice little move to the upside and gold is taking it to the face. So the question is, as we come into this, we broke out of that little consolidated range. We came up and we tickled some levels to the upside. We have a VIX that is suppressed into the ground. The question becomes is where are we within some of these charts? We'll get to that. But before that, Sonny, what do you have going on over there? What are you seeing?
Morning, everyone. So some interesting upgrades, downgrades, actually price target cuts. Not much on the upgrades and the downgrade side. What caught my eye on the upgrades was RMBS, Rambus, which is pretty much, I think, in line because of the Micron news that came out. I'll talk about that in a little bit. On the downgrades, a couple of Chinese names, nothing that caught interest, but I did catch a few price target changes that was interesting. So Dynatrace, DT, they had their earnings across the board. Price target updates from BOF, BofA, Jefferies, JP Morgan, Needham, Wells Fargo, Canaccord. NVIDIA got price target upgrades to 350 from 300 by Oppenheimer and Susquehanna. And on the bio side, PTCT got price target raised, Barclays, Citigroup, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan. So that's some serious upgrades on that. On the video game, TTWO, I think they had the earnings across the board. Again, price target revised upwards. The only one that I saw downward that interested me was Cisco. They had the ER yesterday, and they got price target cuts. Credit Suisse, Jefferies, Piper, Barclays. So I'll be watching that. They did have interesting ER, they beat, but they think going forward there'll be more softness for Cisco. Moving on to the news. So Snow is in talks to buy search startup Neva in, guess what? AI push. So they got a nice spike yesterday. We're watching that. They also have ER next week, I think, and then Investor Day end of June. So Datadog, Frog could be nice plays off of that. Netflix, they said the ad tier has roughly about 5 million monthly users. Is a nice pickup from the last time they reported that number. And streaming, Disney said Disney Plus is about to break even on the streaming side. That's good news. It got a little bit spike on that yesterday. Schwab, they are tapping the credit markets to raise 2.5 billion. So watch KRE and the other regionals. And Hood, so they lost 300,000 users from March to April.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a pretty significant number there. Yeah. MU, I posted that yesterday also. So MU is in talks with Japan to increase production there. They're roughly getting $1.5 billion in investment from the Japanese government. And TSM is also in talks to increase production in Japan. And so this one I had covered before, MRVI, Maravai Life Sciences. So they have in their annual meeting today. They've been on the M&A block a couple of times. So watch, see if any flow or news. If I hear any news, I'll post it. And Chegg, they had guided down, dumped about 40%, 50%, because they said ChatGPT was affecting their business. So they're attending at the Needham conference. You see, let's see what they talk about, what they're going to do with AI, or how they're going to implement it, or it's just going to drop another 40%. Solar sector on the watch, Canadian Solar, CSIQ, had a really good ER. They had a upbeat guidance. So that's another sector I'll be watching today.
All right. Very good. Very good. So the thing with Schwab, is there any color on that as far as the why, if you will?
I didn't look at the why. I had it on my note today to look it up this morning.
Okay.
But I mean, they rallied yesterday. They were getting a lot of bull flow towards the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm kind of surprised. Is it like typical Bioname? They pump it before they do an offering. So I don't know if they're doing the same shit.
Right.
They pumped it up.
That's a really, really great point, because we have seen that. And even with some of the upgrades, we've seen selling into upgrades recently. Again, awfully interesting. It's like, look, it's like when we start looking at some of these things all the way around, the market is pricing in rate cuts pretty handily. And at this point, while data is not as strong as I think people like myself would like to see, the idea of rate cuts, it does not appear to be anywhere on the spectrum.
Yep.
It just does not appear to be out there. I guess it'll be that way until all of a sudden that it is.
Yeah, and the shitty part about that whole thing is, right, all these companies with the good ear are the ones who guide it down, like you were talking about. They guide it down, and then they say, "Hey, we did better this ER," which is kind of screwing up even more, because now the Fed's like, "Well, look, everybody's doing well. It's resilient. Hey, economy is good.
Everything's good. Everything's great." But what I can't reconcile with that, I don't want to get too far on a tangent here, and we'll jump into Bender here in a quick second. You can have your own opinion in life. You can do that, but you can't manufacture your facts in order to justify a position. And as anecdotal as everybody likes to be, this country is only as strong as the middle. And the middle's gone. And all of these policies continue to push towards widening the wealth gap. And we're seeing it. So there you have it. How do we shake out? How do we look, 6, 8 months, 6, 8 years from now? Who knows? But with that being said, the most important thing is knowing where we are in the charts right now, Bender, and what's going to happen next. What you got?
All right. Yeah. I'm going to start. Let's look at we talked about yesterday the fact that, we made a nice move, but, in the grand scheme of things, we didn't really go anywhere, right? It's the same thing as dropping 40, 50 handles, 60 handles, and, still being in that, let's say, above 40.85. It's like, we didn't really go anywhere. We knew there was some stops, resting above. We kind of talked about the fact that we made all these lower highs here in a row, and that they had been taking the sell side liquidity, kind of every step of the way. So when we got this pop, it wasn't unexpected that we would get sort of an accelerated move like we did. So, and I just posted that chart. There you go. So where are we now? We're sitting 41.66 right now. I'm showing this is a regular trading hours chart just to show this gap up here that you can see we wicked into it yesterday. Right now, if I switch over to electronic trading hours, you will see that we did indeed fill that gap this morning in pre-market. So that has been accomplished, right? If we are going to move up, well, now that that gap's been filled, the next target becomes that 41.91.5. This gap, the work there is done, right? So 41.91.5. And then I've got this trend line that we've had now started up here February 2nd, and then we hit it here on the 1st of the month. And so I just kind of drug that out. If we are going to fill, if we do start moving up and get through that gap, take out that 41.91 half level, then you got that potential trend line resistance, or you've got 2 points that connect. We'll see what it does with it there if it decides to move up. If I zoom in now, we still have that gap below, right? That's down under 41.10. That's kind of where that starts. Let's go into a 15-minute here. And we've got two volume imbalances that you can see here on the 15-minute. One of them we just wicked through within the last few minutes. We'd like to see the body of the candle fill that in. I can go into a 5-minute and see if that's still there. Nope. So you want to see a 15-minute candle, lay a body over that to fill that in if they're going to. And then there's another one you can see down here at 41.48.75. So where are we at? Well, we're above 41.48. Yay, right? Not by a whole hell of a lot. And 41.72 has been resistance. This has been a really tricky area, which we traded through, filled the gap, and back down through it. Given the move yesterday, as you can imagine, we have some stuff, some areas that we kind of left behind that, maybe we have to go back in and even some of those out a little bit, perhaps. That wouldn't be out of the question, anything like that. I think as long as we can kind of hold above this breakout area in the 41.50s, then we've got a chance to, maybe take out some longs, fill some of this area in, and then, potentially move back up towards that 41.91. If we're back below 41.50 using it as resistance, then I start targeting those lower levels kind of down here in this 41.25 area, right? Down to 41.20. So that's 40 down from here. 10 down would get us to 41.50, and then we can start looking at some of these lower levels. That 41.48 obviously being key, but I guess the in conclusion, the takeaway is, yeah, we really still, we haven't done anything. We haven't gone anywhere. It was a nice little pop. Doesn't look a whole lot different than this drop or this pop. besides the fact that we took out some of these stops, but we're still right where we were.
Right where we were, the man said.
Last thing is, obviously, we've been talking about the midpoint for the month being 41.30, 41.34 half. And I threw, I did this earlier, threw a fib just on this move here, just to kind of find out, okay, this sort of impulse move right here, the middle of that being 41.52 half. So anything down and around this 41.50 area, it's like, we're stuck again.
All right.
That's about it.
That's about it, the man says. All right. Stonkington, what you got, buddy?
Hello. Good morning. Big ER pre-market from Wally World, and I think we know what that means. Yeah. This one I'm going to put over here on Discord before we get into some charts. Today, we've got... Have you ever woken up and you're trying to make breakfast, but you're tired and you're just so hungry? And you're like, man, I could go for some eggs, but I don't think I have it in me to crack the eggs myself. Well, if that sounds familiar, I've got a product for you. The Easy Egg Cracker. We got guesses rolling in from Tacoma. $9.99. Tesla says $11.99. We got a lot of tired egg crackers out there.
I don't understand.
I'm going $29.99.
Dude, I'm gonna look. If it's above $20, I'm not gonna be here today. I'm gonna, if it's above $20, I'm just not gonna do it anymore.
Is this a Walmart item?
Yes.
This is straight out of Wally World. Oh man. A lot of Reeds already shopping around for one.
I refuse to
we
engage
got
in
a
the
winner
game.
here. Let's see, who is this? That's going to be looks like Mr. Bateman here, proud owner of a new egg cracker.
Proud owner of the picture of an egg cracker.
True. From Bender, the NFT guy. I guess you do own the picture now.
1908. How is that even a price?
Good old Wally World.
And they came
It's a
right up
rolled
to
up price.
They came right up to my cut line. As far as above $20, it's like, so I guess I gotta be here.
So you're still at work.
Fuck.
There you go. All right, let's get into charts and stuff. Okay, so this, so we saw. I was kind of trying to track flow and just posting in the room. Yesterday, we saw them slap puts on the HYG, which is the high yield bond ETF. And so here, what I have here is the SPY daily with the yellow line being the, the orange lines being the HYG. And you can see these are pretty closely correlated in terms of highs and lows. And so it's kind of been talking about this macro book I've been looking at, and talking about some of the data that's coming out. And one thing I like about this book, The Secrets of Economic Indicators, is that it talks about how bond traders may react to each data point that comes out. And so today we have home builders, we have business inventories, retail sales. And so the book is saying bond traders, if they see shoppers, retail sales going up, consumers buying, then the bond traders may be scared off that because high retail sales would be good for equities and not as good for bonds. But we saw the puts on the HYG, which are pretty closely correlated to the SPY versus I was looking at the TLT. If we swap over to that one, let's get rid of the HYG to keep this clean. you can see that the TLT is going to have a kind of a more inverse relationship to the SPY. So just kind of something that crossed my mind as we have these data points coming up, and we saw them buying big dick puts on the HYG for tomorrow. So just kind of good to be aware of some of those relationships and what the bond traders might be thinking. But let's get into some of these charts. We can start with the NQ, and just kind of adjusting these lines on a 4 hour, you can see that this could potentially still, or even, I basically moved this trend line from this to this after yesterday's price action. It could still be pretty relevant here. This is basically just the gap that we left with the big pop yesterday. So if we're going to be pulling back, I would see this, what is this? 556, 555 area as a potential downside target. We still left this big old daily fair value gap. We filled one on the ES that was above, but we have all this above to fill in. And then if we came all the way back, be looking at this 4 hour bull order block, which would basically be the midpoint of this candle, Mr. T style. So we're going to be pulling back and be looking at that. So that's on the NQ. If we jump over to the Russell, so we've got a rejection here of an order block line. This one is actually going to be on the daily. And this big wick would be one that Mr. T would probably call low. When you're using the wick, he calls those lower probability, but we'll see what we get there. And then this, let's see, this will be another midpoint on a 4 hour order block. Let's see. So that would be, look, I think that would be which candle? One of these. I know it was midpoint, and this one, I think I labeled it from this one as a breaker, basically, because it was a bearish order block, and we broke through. So that's the midpoint of this candle right here. So if we're going to continue pulling back, first target I've been looking at is this line. If we go through it again, I'll be looking to fill in down to here on the Russell. So if we jump over to the individual tickers, Apple came right down to the line I wanted to use as a put trigger and bounced off of it. This is going to be this 172.25. We saw them adding to this dark pool at 172.65 last night. They hit it at 172.69, but it's basically all the same. So if we're going to go up, we'd need to pop this, and then next I'd be looking for 173 flats, round number, psych level, and then I'll be looking to see if we break below that to potentially take Apple short. And then let's see. Netflix got a really nice pop. I was going to keep an eye on that. It's getting a pop here pre-market, and right up into this line that looks pretty important here, 347.55. So you can see where it worked as resistance in the past. So for upside, I would want to see us pop that and then come back and retest and hold. And then for downside, I'd be looking at this old fib that I had at 345.75 there on Netflix. And I think that is all I've got for today.
All right, everyone. So there we go. Everybody did a wonderful job in setting up the day. We do have a little bit more data coming out after market open, and we get Powell and Bernanke speaking tomorrow after market open with some additional data. So that's the setup. That's where we're at. From an overall standpoint, I would have to say that flow continues to lean neutral to bullish. You just can't get around it no matter what you want to see. There are bull lines in several names. We saw it into Micron. We've seen it in NVIDIA. We've seen it into AMD. We've seen it in quite a few names. So it's like, be careful with what you're doing. Be smart, be wise, and have a good day. That's all I got. Bender, Sun, Stonkington, anything else, fellas?
I just want to point at the large dark pool that came into Morgan Stanley, 65% of the 30-day average. And Pepsi got another large dark pool, 22% of the 30-day average.
All right. Well, there you have it. All right. That's all I got, everyone. Market opens in about 13 minutes. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
See you in a few.